reconcile something that has been missing. And I didn't have that openness, that honesty, no secrets. I didn't know how. So as much as we were in therapy, it had been ingrained in me to keep this mouth shut. You do not speak about something super personal, like you wipe the tears. Don't let anybody see you cry. You get what I'm saying? Like that is just too much vulnerability. And so everything about him that he did, I loved, but made me so uncomfortable to do it for myself. It took Jesus, the Bible, and a whole lot of just breaking of that like belief system this started in rehab. And it took that day 38 of rehab. I had done all the work, admitted sexual abuse in my childhood. I finally said that out loud.
15 years into that was the next question I was about to ask you. I was about to ask you what other things that you keep silent.
Oh, I kept that. That was a big one, because that was one of the things that led me to drink in the first place, the undealt with trauma, right?
Yep.
And all the pent up emotions that about pain and hurt and things I resented about him had built up, and I never expressed it. I just didn't know how. I don't know how else to tell you. I'm sure there are listeners out there, people who are like, I know what she's talking about. Like, you don't even know how to articulate in words what it is you're experiencing on the inside. All you know is that person, place, thing you're using to take you somewhere else to ease the pain, that feels better than the pain of and the courage it's going to take to actually say it out loud.
I mean, sis is preaching right now, because she's breaking down some really key things. I mean, she spoke about several things, but I want to focus on one, and I'll probably do another part 3 as well, because some of the stuff she's saying is some of the stuff we deal with in coaching. But she said something about not being able to share the deep things that were happening to her with her partner. And so I want to help you, because this is a very real thing that happens in relationships. People go through scenarios and situations where they're like, I can't share with my partner. Now, this is two fronts. A lot of times it's because you don't know how to share it. You just don't know how to say it. You don't know what to say. And there are other aspects also where the other person fears saying that thing to their partner, because the way that the relationship has been previously, the way their previous relationship have been in terms of how people reacted to them when they share these things, what their childhood has taught them about sharing information. As you heard her say, she grew up and understood that you didn't share some of these deep things that are happening to you, right? So there are many reasons as to why this happens, but I want to just be able to help you create what we call a safe, non-judgmental environment that will help most people be able to share some of the deeper things that they're going through. Because this scenario, whilst I do believe it's an individual case, there are a lot of people who are in relationships where they want to share, but they can't share because their partner just doesn't create the environment for them to be able to share. Then it comes out in a massive argument or a really big beef later on, and the person's like, I don't know how this even got. How do we get here? Why is this now coming up? Right? So I want to be able to help you guys in this space. There's a technique that I have called spotlight technique. Okay. And the technique basically means we put a spotlight on that person. If you've watched any of my interviews, you know I do this technique all the time. It's why my interviews probably take so long. And it's because I'm spotlighting them the entire time. I want you to understand that in this moment, when you are sharing this piece of information, I am ready to receive it. Okay. So here's a few things quickly in terms of a list, and then I'll break down the list quickly for you as well. Okay. We want to be asking questions, okay, in the spotlight technique, right? When I say asking questions, not necessarily has to be the most elaborate questions, but it can be just simply, how did you feel about that? Okay, what did you do next? Wow, I didn't know that was what happened to you. So how did that take place? Why did this happen? Right? We're using the what, where, when, how, and why. Okay, techniques. Okay, your next question usually is actually on the end of whatever they said. If their last words were, I haven't spoken to my mom and dad in the last 4 or 5 years, and yeah, we're just not talking anymore. Your next question is, oh, whoa. Why is it they haven't spoken in the last 5 years? Your question is always on the end of whatever they said, because you're following the route and you're allowing them to keep going on that linear transition that they're on. Okay, we're not derailing them. We're not saying, I also been through it too, and then interrupting and giving your whole, no. Allow them to have that spotlight technique to get some of those things out, right? Number 2, it's to listen and not interrupt. Some of you are really bad at doing this. You listen and you interrupt. Right? They'll be halfway through their speech and be like, yeah, and you jump in. I need you to park it. Okay? Parked it. Number 3, eye contact, if you're in person, is a massive thing. A lot of people are actually on their phone, they're doing something else, they're on a computer, they're distracted. And eye contact just lets the person know that, wow, I'm really hearing what you're saying. Like if I look at you and you look at this camera, just do this for a few seconds. Just look at the camera. I'm going to look at you as well. And I'm going to hear what you're saying. So how did that feel? What did you do next? Wow. Okay. I'm genuinely hearing you. Now you can tell not only am I giving you eye contact, but tone of voice, I'm matching and mirroring the scenario. Okay. I understand that it's got a little bit deep. And so my tone has changed. I'm not so excitable and I'm slowing down the pace of the way I'm talking at that time. Wow. So how did you deal with that? Right? I'm pacing and evenly, trying to pace evenly because I'm trying to also make sure that you're not panicked, you're not spoofed. I want to let you know that I'm listening and I'm riding along with you. So the eye contact's important, the tone is important. The way I'm asking questions, which is pretty much the tone, the tonation of how I'm asking, it's massive. Another point is not rushing them, right? We're not trying to rush you through the story. Now, of course, if there's a time limit in terms of you guys are limited in time, we should always state this at the very beginning of the conversation. Hey, before you share this, it sounds like it's gonna be a very deep one. I've only got 15 minutes. I still want to hear what you got to say, right? This allows the other person to also be aware that there's a boundary here. 15 minutes. Okay, I can only get so deep. And then you can say, hey, can we follow it? Can we follow? And and if you're listening to somebody, you know they're going deep and they can't finish, you should be curious enough to say, hey, can we follow this up next week? Can we follow this up in a few days' time? Can we follow up this tomorrow? Can we follow this up in a few hours' time when I've got a bit more time? I'm intrigued to know a bit more. See, that's what gets people to, that's how I get people to start talking. I'm not a therapist by any means of stretch of imagination, but to get people to talk is simply being in a space of being surrendered in that moment to saying, I'm being present, but you're the most important person right now. Okay. You have to be engaged and curious. When I hear people's story, I'm excited. I'm excited in the sense of when I say excited, I'm intrigued. I'm interested. You just told me that, you know what, you've had a good childhood. Wow, I haven't had that. Wait, what does that even mean? What does that look like for you? Right? You said you had a great childhood. Like, okay, what was your relationship with your dad like? Wow. So you really had that. And you can see that I'm responding in real time. But you see, you can't do that when you're also frustrated about other things, or you're tired, or you're lethargic, or other things are clouding your mind. You may be thinking about other things, and that's understandable. I want you to understand that. Like, you can't always give your 100% best. And that's why we have to let people know that maybe this is not the right time to have this conversation, right? It's my number one rule is that you should know when you've done a good job, because somebody says, I feel safe with you. The amount of times I felt that people now tell, and this is me just giving a bit more FYI, a little bit too much information in this one, or TMI, that when I was in Egypt, when I tell you about Egypt, that means the place I was in when I was in the land of nignogs doing, is that a racist term? I don't know. Well, you know, sometimes you say some stuff. I was in a land of madness, okay? Sodom. I was in Egypt, okay? Even though I was doing my misbehaviors, the amount of times that women would tell me, listen, they feel safe with me. Why? Because that was still, because that, no matter what, even if I'm just trying to have sex, it's still my number one thought process. Like, are you safe? Are you feeling safe in this moment? Because I want to feel safe, right? So it's an energy and a behavior that you carry, okay? When information comes to you in a safe space, we're not condemning. Key word, we all judge, by the way, but condemning is a really big thing. So let me just say this, like, let's say I told you I slept with 10 women. Your first was, damn, you're a hoe, in it? Well, bro, the safe space is done, right? Oh, you know, I cussed my mom out the other day. Damn, you're just a bad child, aren't you? Whoa, let me make that deduction, not you, right? And so when you're in that safe space, people don't make judgments on you like this. They don't condemn you like this. What they do is they allow for you to expand. And they may ask questions, say, hey, do you know what? And you can be honest and say, hey, I'm struggling with this aspect because, you know, I don't have this kind of dynamic with my parent, or I've never done this before. So for me, I'm being a little bit judgmental a little bit here, but I do want to understand a bit more where you're coming from. So you can still be honest and say, I am feeling like I'm judging you a little bit, but I want you to be honest, like, you know, I want to understand you a bit more. See, it's the understanding that breeds a non-judgmental space. You see, understanding brings empathy. When we empathize with people, we tend to operate in a very different way to how we do when we don't have that empathy, right? We validate, okay? We don't over-identify with them. What does that mean? It means if you tell me, listen, you know, because sometimes you can lose people by them saying, you know, I've been through X, Y, and Z. And you're like, oh my God. And sometimes it can be doing over too much. We validate. Wow, that must have been difficult for you. I'm interested. Like, tell me a bit more about it. What does that mean? Right now, of course, you judge these things because again, sometimes you go. Listen, I get emotional when people tell me stuff. I get emotional. I get into my tears. If you see me at interviews, you see me almost tear up a few times, right? I do have those moments because I'm identifying in that moment, but that's not me the whole way through. You know, that's a particular moment where we're sharing that moment in that space of vulnerability, and then we move. So again, once more, quickly, just for you to create a judgment-free zone for you so that your partner can tell you some of these secrets is one, ask questions, and your last question is the last thing they said, right? Number two is listen, do not interrupt. Number three is eye contact and making sure our tonation, okay, and our curiosity is up, which is point number four. Number five is don't rush them. Number six is when information comes, let's not condemn. And number seven is validate rather than trying to over identify, right? Okay, validate rather than trying to over identify. This will help your relationship in terms of them sharing more with you. And look, you reward people when they share with you. You say, thank you for sharing me. I appreciate your vulnerability, right? That's the last point. We should always be positively reconditioning or positively framing things. You shared something with me. I'm going to tell you, I appreciate you sharing with me. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for trusting me with something deep that's to you. You know what I'm saying to you? And that builds confidence. In this scenario, very much avoidance find it very difficult to share things because they don't believe that people actually care about their feelings. They don't believe that people actually care about their wants, their desires, their emotional aspects. So they tend to hide things from people because that's how they grew up in the household. Their parents didn't care about those things, right? Whether it was unintentional or intentionally. You grew up in an environment where you're using, like she said, alcoholism or even sex for some people, right? To mask the pain that they're actually feeling. It's usually because you've not been allowed to build emotional capacity to be able to regulate the emotional pain that you're feeling. That's what took me into the world, to go and have sex with many women. That's what took me there. What took me there was the pain of not actually dealing with the emotional wounds that I carried from childhood. I didn't want to face them because actually it was easier running away. But hey, that's a video for another time. If you do need coaching, please reach out to us. If you're single, married, divorced, either way, we want to hear from you because we want to be able to help you along your healing, growth, and transformational journey as well. Book yourself in for a free discovery call. It's 30 minutes. See if our coaching matches and aligns with what you're trying to achieve. Look, I'm here to help you guys. Make sure you go back to return to Genesis, that healthy space where we can operate from a place of innocence and goodwill. Much love, much appreciation. We'll see you again soon for another video.